Gamers and viewers, welcome back to another review. Let's talk about the game that's being talked all over the place right now. The game is regarded as a masterpiece by many. The game is The Last of Us, which is exclusively for the PS3. You see me played it, you seen other people played it, you probably played it yourself. We're definitely going to pull out some pros and cons about this game and talk about why this is a great game and what could be done to make it better. The game is a third-person action-adventure stealth game. The game starts you off 20 years before the actual main timeline you'll be playing. What exactly happened 20 years ago was that there's a fungus in the city, there was a mutated strain, it infected people, and people were passing the infection around, and pretty much they turned them into aggressive animals, mutated animals if you want to call them that. They are not exactly zombies, guys. It's not the undead, so quit calling them zombies. So fast forward 20 years later, the world split into disarray. The government, the authorities control the outbreak and the citizens, while the rebel group or insurgents, the Fireflies, fight against them. Joel is pretty much now a smuggler. He is teamed up with a woman named Tess. They were on their way to get some of their supplies back from a local gangster. His name was Robert, who tried to kill Tess, but it seems like the gang has sold the weapons to the Fireflies. The leader of the Fireflies, Marlon, would promise their stash back and would return it if they smuggled a package out of the city. The package happens to be a teenage girl named Ellie. I'm going to go ahead and get into the graphics of the game. As a PC gamer, graphics pretty big, but for a console game, graphics in this game is quite well done. It's really amazing what is done in this game. It's very aesthetically beautiful. The amount of detail they put into the environment is very nice if you actually took your time to get immersed into the environment, so it's very immersive. The rotting of the wood, the textures, the just the overgrowing plants, the details really worked on. There was one point in my stream where I completely stopped in a room in a hotel and we looked around just to admire the details, and there was like this basically bird cages and animal cages everywhere. We could tell that this person who lived in this house or this room was an animal lover. We could tell that there was a rocking chair, that it was an older person, and just from stuff like that we can truly tell a rich history behind the story of the game. So definitely kudos to the graphics and designs team. The amount of detail that was put in this game was amazing, and that's what was needed to tell the story, and it did bring out the immersion of the game. The enemies and the main character themselves also very nicely done in terms of graphics. You can definitely see the details on their faces. If you looked in, the details on the hair, it's really well done. Even the endgame cutscenes look really nice because of that. The controls of the game are pretty nicely done and laid out. It's pretty much like the Uncharted series if you played it before, but with a little bit of modification to it. The controls was really easy to understand. Once you get the grasp on it, it's really fun to use, but can be a bit clunky at times, especially with the turning, although it's still very well done. The sound and music of the game, pretty awesome. The voice acting, really well done on this part. Ellie does an amazing job, even though sometimes she sounds like older than she really is. The characters all have very nice voice acting. Nobody missed a beat. The sound of the enemies, the clicking, all of that sound effects in the game really brings the immersion to life once again, which makes it also great. The gameplay pretty much most of the time is going to involve a lot of stealth. The stealth aspect of the game is really well done. The AI of the game, however, sometimes can be a bit clunky, especially for your partners. Sometimes they block your way, or sometimes they do stuff that you don't want them to do, but other than that, they're really well done. The enemy AI, really good stuff. They don't just work on sight, but they also work on sound, hence you also have the powers to sense sound and to see it. It's kind of like a Spider-Man sense. You can go all-out action jacks in this game. You can go melee, you can grab certain things to beat up your enemies, certain weapons. There's going to be guns, shotguns, pistols, you name it, Molotovs, and also shivs. Everything is in your backpack, so you basically have to open your backpack to do anything, from changing your guns, from crafting certain weapons to use. And also later on in the game, you can also upgrade your guns, but be careful about ammo because ammo in this game is very scarce. They come from different places that either drop from enemies or you have to find them in closet or the environment, which is really hard to look out for. So that's why you mostly want to save your ammo as much as possible and use a little of it. That's what I did during my playthrough, and that's cost me a lot of death. The replayability pretty much is once you beat it, you can play it again, or you can actually go in multiplayer and fight the Fireflies versus the government group. And you basically choose a group, your loadout, and you gun them down, you beat them down. It's kind of like similar to the Uncharted multiplayer. To me, personally, I get kind of bored with the play, that type of gameplay real quick. So I hope that in the future they'll open up more choices, maybe infected versus human, or some type of horde mode. Just more game modes that will keep the game alive as long as possible. Even though the game itself is a great game overall, it's fantastic, I had fun with it, I enjoyed it, the problem with the game is that it still had its con, and for that reason, I can't really agree to everyone else saying it is the perfect game or the masterpiece of the century. But go ahead and point out some of the cons that I saw in the game. One of my biggest cons in the game was that during the beginning of the game, you were given choice. You can either kill this guy or leave him alive when he was stuck under a cabinet. And right from the beginning, you would think, oh, there's going to be choice in this game, when there definitely is no choices at all. There's no choices during the game except for that point in the game. So I was kind of bummed out at that point. So hopefully in the future, they'll add more choices, because choices are great. There are also certain times when I play the game I felt restricted just because the fact that they didn't leave stuff the way it is, but they added a wall to it. I hate restrictions. That's a personal thing. I don't know if you hate it too. For example, I was walking on the roof at Marlin and I felt like, let's say I wanted to slip down the rooftop or something, but I can't because the rooftop actually is barred with an invisible wall that says you cannot go past here. It's basically a restriction thing, but it would be nicer if the restrictions were hidden and placed at certain places where you can't notice it. If a player F's up and he falls down a hole somewhere or down the tower, he should be able to. He should be able to get a game over if he shot the main character if he wanted to. But unfortunately, all those are basically some of the restrictions in the game. Another thing I'll point out as a con is definitely the AI that you have as partners. Sometimes they block your path and stuff like that, which is kind of dumb. They do help you out a bit, which is kind of cool, but the problem is enemies don't react to them if they're out in the open. They only react to your AI partners if the enemy spots you, which kind of ruins the immersion a bit. I wish there was a better way to hide it, but unfortunately, that's what they did. So that's the only other gripe I had about that. And my biggest con about this game is definitely the crafting. The crafting is very limited. It's very limited on what you can make. Limited upgrades. You can only upgrade your guns. You use spare parts. You upgrade at the bench. You do a little bit of modification to it, get a little bit stronger. But I wish there was more modification and upgrades to the game. I mean, you could do so much with bindings and knives. You could do so much with the items you find, like, I don't know, make a flaming melee weapon of some sort. All that stuff. Definitely hope they'll add in the future for sequels. Do something interesting with those. That's pretty much it. Anyways, guys, I did enjoy the game for what it is. Everything I said about the cons is food for thoughts. It's for, helping the developers maybe think about adding those in for the future content of the next in the series, which supposedly there's going to be 2 more. And you know me, I'm a sucker for hype, so I'll definitely pick them up because to me, I guess I had a lot of fun playing it, and that's the most important thing for me, was having fun playing the game. Like I said before, if you're not having fun, don't get it. If you're having fun, go on to the next series and enjoy it some more. Other than that, guys, thanks for watching. Game on.
All right. You gotta check the barricades again. The simple shit, and you're paying for it. You know what that means? Taking all the supplies from the warehouse and letting them.
No, he's talking to himself.
Again. Then it'll take you.
Bill?
Joel. This way. And up we go.